Chapter 1. My wife used AI to replace my face with her first loves in a video of us and posted it online. After the video went viral, I stumbled upon it. I angrily confronted her, but she just rolled her eyes at me. I was just messing around. Why are you taking it so seriously? Besides, Ethan Jones is way better looking than you. Isn't it normal for me to swap you out for him? I was mistaken for the other man by clueless online followers and beaten until my forearm and sternum were fractured. Yet not only did she refuse to clear my name, she mocked me and tried to force me to invest in Ethan Jones. I was completely disheartened. If she could be so heartless, then I had no reason to spare her any dignity. Let's get divorced right now, and then take your trash and get out of my house. I wanted to see just how her precious Ethan Jones would give her the dream life she so desperately craved. In the video, Victoria Miller was dabbing ointment on Ethan Jones's wound. Her brow was furrowed, her eyes lowered as she carefully tended to the cut on his face. Even in a blurry profile shot, her concern and anxiety were palpable. Ethan took her hand, laughing it off. "I'm fine, don't worry." Victoria's expression didn't soften. She turned her head, her eyes meeting Ethan's adoring gaze. In that instant, their unspoken affection became tangible. Sparks flew between them, and a shower of pink bubbles seemed to fill the air. Suddenly, Victoria lost her balance and swayed, her lips about to meet Ethan's, but the video cut off abruptly. I opened the comments, and just as I expected, they were filled with frustration and demands for an update. Half the people were gushing about how sweet it was, asking if they had kissed. The other half were attacking me. "That creepo better not cross my path or I'll beat him up every time I see him. They were such a perfect couple that old geezer had the nerve to say Vicky was his wife. He should take a look in the mirror and see if he's even worthy." The phrase ordinary but overconfident just keeps getting more relevant. Everyone was convinced that Victoria and Ethan were a match made in heaven, and I was just the toad lusting after a swan. I was suffering in silence, unable to defend myself. What chilled me to the bone was that, from beginning to end, Victoria never once stood up for me or said a single word in my defense. The pain from my multiple fractures was nothing compared to the psychological damage her indifference inflicted. I forced a smile that was uglier than a grimace, took a sharp breath, and shakily liked the video. The internet was fast. The moment I liked it, a message from Victoria popped up. "You started this and you have the nerve to like the video? Are you gloating?" Every word was a stab to the heart. I closed my eyes and let out a heavy sigh. 2 days ago, Victoria had started her social media career by taking a vlog we had filmed together, replacing my face with Ethan's using AI, and posting it online. The combination of a handsome man and a beautiful woman, coupled with the amorous atmosphere, made the video an instant hit. That day, several executives in my industry forwarded the video to me, asking if Victoria and I had gotten divorced. I was furious and demanded to know why she had done it. She said nonchalantly, "I was doing it for your own good. You know what you look like. If I had posted the real video, you'd probably get cyberbullied." Her twisted logic completely enraged me. I told her to take the video down immediately, but she refused. And so we started giving each other the silent treatment. Today, a friend saw Victoria and Ethan getting cozy at a bar. I rushed over and found them passing a playing card from mouth to mouth. When I tried to stop them, she pointed a finger at my nose and unleashed a torrent of abuse. She claimed she was only drinking because I had upset her, and that running into Ethan was a pure coincidence. Passing the card by mouth, she said, was just a normal game of dares, and I shouldn't be so sensitive and petty. I was so furious I had to laugh. I grabbed her, wanting to go home and talk things over properly. But Victoria's reaction was violent. She refused to leave with me. The commotion quickly drew the attention of other people in the bar. Some of them recognized Victoria and Ethan. Compounded by my dark and menacing expression at the time, they didn't even bother to ask questions before branding me a creep and giving me a severe beating. I ended up with a fractured forearm, a broken sternum, and an emergency hospital stay, all while being cursed by thousands online. Meanwhile, Ethan, who had only taken a single punch from me and had a slightly bruised face, was showered with sympathy. Chapter 2. Before I could reply, Victoria's accusations continued relentlessly. "Are you dead? What's with the silent treatment? Don't think I'll be scared just because you're ignoring me. This is all your fault. You have to apologize to Ethan or else what? Divorce. Divorce, seeing those two words in print mirroring the ones in my mind, was a strange confirmation. My eyes flickered, but I felt nothing inside. I remembered the bitterness and helplessness I used to feel countless times before when I heard or saw those words. Every time Victoria brought it up, my heart would shatter a little more. She never backed down, so I was always the one left to lick my own wounds, clumsily trying to patch things up. Over time, after so many instances, I grew tired. With stiff fingers, I carefully typed out, "Okay." Victoria didn't reply again. I couldn't be bothered to argue with her anymore. I closed the social media app and called my lawyer, asking him to draw up the divorce papers. After settling everything, I tossed my phone aside and closed my eyes to rest. I stayed in the hospital for 2 more days. Once I could move around normally, I checked myself out. But a serious injury takes time to heal, and my movements were still clumsy. Just opening the front door took me a good while. As soon as I stepped inside, I saw Victoria and Ethan sitting on the couch. Victoria turned her head slowly, her face flushed, a smile that didn't reach her eyes on her lips. "You're back. You didn't say you were coming." I looked back and forth between the two of them on the couch. Their clothes were on, but disheveled. Under my gaze, they awkwardly straightened their collars and tugged at their sleeves, their attempts to hide it only making it more obvious. As I took off my shoes, I asked casually, "Why is your face so red?" "Oh, I just got out of the shower. It's a little warm." After saying that, Victoria even pretended to fan her cheeks with her hand. "You still haven't told me why you came back without any warning. This is my house. The deed has my name on it. Since when do I need to give you a heads up before I come home?" Victoria was speechless. Her eyes darted around, her mind obviously racing to come up with a plausible excuse for Ethan's presence in my house. I didn't rush her, nor did I ask. I just calmly surveyed the home I had been absent from for a few days, acting as if I didn't see their awkwardness. This was a state I often adopted in the cutthroat world of business. In negotiations, silence can be a powerful tool. The party that is guilty or lacks confidence is often the first to crack under the psychological pressure, sometimes even surrendering completely. In the past, seeing a scene like this would have sent me into a blind rage. I would have lost my composure before Victoria even had a chance to speak. That was because I loved her, cared about her, and couldn't bear her betrayal. But now, I was calm and composed, handling the situation as if it were someone else's problem. Victoria was the first to break the eerie silence. You weren't home these past few days, and Ethan was worried I might be in danger, so he came over to keep me company. After all, we have a certain level of fame now. You never know with obsessive fans." Seeing that I wasn't saying anything, she forced herself to continue, and we were also discussing how to manage the account moving forward. "Hey, where are you going?" I stood up and, without a glance at them, walked into the bedroom. The door was open, and I could clearly see the bed, which was usually neat and tidy, was now a tangled mess. One pillow was askew. The other pillow, mine, had been thrown in the trash can. As I got closer, I noticed short hairs on the sheets that matched Ethan's hair color. Clothes were strewn on the floor in front of the bathroom. It was obvious what had happened here. Victoria rushed after me, her face pale. She opened her mouth, stammering for a moment before piecing together a complete sentence. I was just so mad at you that I messed it all up. It's your fault for ignoring me." I remained silent. Victoria followed me, repeatedly blaming me for my coldness over the past 2 days. I stepped around the clothes on the floor, grabbed what I needed, and left the bedroom. Honestly, I was impressed with my own calmness. After all, no man can stand being cheated on, but I only ever showed my true emotions to people I cared about. From the moment I decided to divorce Victoria, she no longer held any weight in my heart. I ignored the two shameless people and went to the kitchen to make something to eat. This was the first time I hadn't lost my temper with Victoria when faced with such an outrageous situation. I don't know what signal I gave her, but she seemed to think I was still a pushover. After a few insincere questions about my health, she tentatively asked, "Now that you're better, can we talk about that investment thing? The one for Ethan." Chapter 3. A month ago, Victoria had asked me to invest in Ethan Jones. She said he was a highly educated overseas returnee with great looks, perfect for becoming an influencer. I had already looked into his background before she even mentioned it and had heard about his character. Ethan had made some short videos abroad. To get views, he had more than once made sycophantic comments to appeal to a foreign audience, but none of them took off. which is why they were never shared back home and subjected to public scorn. He was golden on the outside, rotten on the inside. Signing him would be like signing a ticking time bomb. Although I had plenty of money and was generous with Victoria, I wasn't about to throw it away like that. So, I flatly refused her proposal. I laid out the risks, but she was completely unreasonable. She argued that Ethan had deleted those old videos, so there was nothing to worry about. She also insisted that her judgment was flawless, that Ethan had the potential to be a huge star, and that all he lacked was an opportunity. I rubbed my forehead and sighed, telling her she didn't understand. That infuriated her, and we had a huge fight. We parted on bad terms, and then she used the AI face swap to inadvertently make her and Ethan a viral couple. Hearing his name, Ethan also came over. Seeing I had no reaction other than struggling to cook myself some noodles, Ethan adopted a humble tone. "Big H, don't be angry. Vicky and I are just colleagues. We won't ruin your relationship. I know it makes you a bit uncomfortable that Vicky and I are a couple online, but trust us, we'll definitely make you a huge return on your investment." Then he started rambling about his half-baked business plan. Victoria's eyes lit up as she listened, looking completely smitten. I continued to focus on my noodles, unmoved by his nonsense. Being ignored, Ethan pursed his lips, a hint of resentment showing. But he was clever and knew who to show his vulnerability to. It seems I was too forward. He turned his head, his bangs covering his eyes, feigning a touch of disappointment. Victoria's heart went out to him. She instinctively took his hand and comforted him gently. "It's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. It's Sincere who doesn't get it. He's just a country bumpkin millionaire. How could he understand the vision in your mind? And don't you worry, Sincere makes money fast. He won't care about a small investment like this. Just believe in yourself." My hand holding the ladle paused. I mulled over Victoria's words. Time flies. In less than 5 years, Victoria had forgotten how hard my life used to be. She had been with me through the entire startup journey. She knew I once worked until I had stomach bleeding to land a project worth over $100,000. She also knew that to save a little money, I used to sleep in the office storage room. My struggles, my helplessness, my despair, she had witnessed it all. Back then, she would feel for me, knowing how hard I worked for my money, and would stay up late to make me porridge. Now, after only a few good years, she spoke as if my money grew on trees, ready to be squandered at will. The steam from the noodle soup was scalding, but my heart was ice cold. I finished plating my noodles without a change in expression, walked past them, and sat down at the dining table to eat. My composure made Victoria anxious. She stormed over, slapped my hand, and knocking the noodles from my chopsticks and shouted, "Say something, are you mute?" My injured arm, already in pain, throbbed even more intensely from her careless strike. My face darkened as I stared coldly at the woman who had completely changed. She was no longer the woman I loved. Not only did she ignore my injuries, but now she wouldn't even let me eat a bowl of hot noodles in peace. If she could be so heartless, then I had no reason to spare her any dignity. Why should I invest in a good-for-nothing like Ethan? If you're so capable, help him yourself. Why are you coming to me for money? And another thing, have you forgotten what you said 2 days ago? She froze, unable to remember what she had said. I pulled the agreement from my bag, slammed it on the table, and commanded without a trace of emotion, "We have already agreed to a divorce. The chat logs are the proof. Sign it now, and then take your trash and get out of my house." Chapter 4. The shock was unexpected. Victoria stared blankly for a long moment before her surprise turned to fury. "You dared to divorce me, Sincere Harrison. You've got some nerve, actually daring to divorce me." She rushed at me, punching my body over and over. Not only that, she grabbed my shirt and shook me violently. "Tell me, did you find another woman?" My chest was already aching, and with her shaking me like this, the single bite of noodles I had managed to eat threatened to come back up. Victoria's reaction was exactly what I had expected. After all, divorce was her ultimate weapon. Whether it was when Ethan first returned to the country and they started contacting each other frequently, or when she demanded I invest in him, she would threaten me with divorce the moment I disagreed with her. In the past, I was always the one to back down. She took my love for granted and acted recklessly. This time I didn't play along. Instead, I produced actual divorce papers. How could she not be furious? I forcefully pushed her away, telling her to stop her tantrum, sign the papers, and we could make a clean break. Victoria clenched her fists, glaring at me. Suddenly, as if she'd figured something out, she glanced from the divorce agreement to me and sneered. "Ah, You could never leave me. It's just signing a piece of paper. Who's afraid? I don't believe for a second you're serious. We'll just see who caves first with that. She actually stepped forward, picked up the pen, and without even looking at the agreement, flipped to the last page to sign. It was Ethan who reacted quickly, grabbing her arm. Vicky, don't be impulsive. Victoria, in the heat of the moment, was about to shake him off when she saw the pained and reluctant look on his face. Do you want me to feel guilty for the rest of my life? You were a couple for so many years. How can you divorce so easily? Have you forgotten all the good times you had together? As he said this, he looked somewhat dejected, as if mourning a lost treasure of his own. I'll keep my distance from you. Ethan then turned to me. Big H, I know you're in a tough spot. Don't worry, I'll be sure to watch myself in the future and won't take advantage of Vicky in any way. His eyes, filled with complex emotions, were fixed on Victoria, but his words were for me. Big H, sometimes I really envy you. You found a gem, a wonderful wife like Vicky. If she were mine, I would cherish her, protect her from every little bump and bruise, and never let her be cold or hungry. As he spoke, his eyes even seemed to glisten with unshed tears. Victoria, too, seemed to be reminded of the past. Her anger subsided, replaced by a sense of melancholy. Noticing my cold expression in her peripheral vision, Victoria snapped, Sincere, can't you reflect on yourself for once? Even an outsider is showing more concern for our marriage than you are. What are you still being so stubborn about? I narrowed my eyes at them for a moment, then let out a disdainful snort. Ethan's performance was so heartfelt. He must have something to gain from it. From the moment Ethan returned to the country and made a beeline for Victoria, I knew his intentions weren't pure. He and Victoria had dated since college. As the handsome guy and beautiful girl, they were a well-known couple on campus. Later, Ethan wanted to go abroad to get a fancy degree, and Victoria couldn't go with him, so they broke up. When they parted, Ethan had beautifully claimed it was for Victoria's own good, that he didn't want to hold her back. This tragic ending made him the unforgettable first love in Victoria's heart, someone she couldn't get over. Ethan had privately told Victoria that he regretted not coming back sooner. But as far as I knew, he had just been idling around overseas with no real commitments. He could have come back at any time, yet he chose not to return right after graduation, nor did he come back during the early difficult days of my startup, when Victoria was struggling alongside me. Instead, he reappeared when my company was stable and booming, repeatedly asking Victoria out to catch up. His motives were as clear as day. Chapter 5. I had warned Victoria before, telling her not to be fooled by Ethan, but Victoria just thought I was being scheming, jealous of the past relationship she'd had with him. She had always viewed Ethan through rose-colored glasses, believing that such a highly educated man could never be capable of petty schemes. She even treated my warnings as a joke, telling Ethan about them, and they laughed together at how petty I was. After several arguments, I gave up trying to reason with her. I figured that since I held the purse strings, Ethan would eventually give up when he didn't get what he wanted, and Victoria would learn her lesson the hard way. But I never expected Ethan to be so patient or for Victoria to be so biased in his favor. As a result, while I was busy with work, the two of them grew closer and closer, completely disregarding me. Now, she was openly hostile towards me for Ethan's sake. It was as if I, her legal husband, was the villain intruding on their love story. Bile rose in my throat. I was utterly disgusted. Victoria, just because you're stupid doesn't mean I am. Listen to yourself. Do you really think anyone would believe this pure friendship nonsense you and Ethan are spouting? I can't be bothered to argue with you anymore. Just sign the papers. After this, you can be with whoever you want. I'm done. My unrepentant attitude thoroughly enraged Victoria. She slammed her palm on the table and roared. Sincere Harrison knew she was so worked up that she choked on her own breath. Ethan quickly rushed to her side, wrapping an arm around her and gently rubbing her back, whispering for her to calm down. But Victoria had never been thwarted like this by me before, and there was no calming her down this time. She pointed at me, screaming like a shrew. If you hadn't been licking my boots like a dog back then, I wouldn't have even looked at a piece of trash. Like you. You get a little bit of dirty money and you start acting all high and mighty. Who do you think you are? I shot back a provocative sneer. I may have some dirty money, but how noble are you? Haven't you spent plenty of it over the years? My words were like pouring gasoline on a fire. Victoria's face turned beet red. I thought her hair was going to stand on end. You're counting money with me. I must have been blind to marry someone like you. Fine, let's get a divorce right now. I don't want to be associated with you, knowing Victoria had always been pretentious because she had a higher education than me. I continued to provoke her. Tsh. Even after the divorce, you'll still be living it up with my money. Get lost, I don't want your filthy money without giving Ethan a chance to stop her. She grabbed the pen, signed her name with a few quick strokes, and even added a special note. Leaving with nothing. I don't want a single cent from Sincere Harrison. I clapped my hands in satisfaction. You really are different from me. Victoria finally looked pleased, but next to her, Ethan's face had gone pale. Since our lives had improved, Victoria hadn't worried about money, to the point that she had forgotten what it was like to be poor. Now, in her anger, she had agreed to leave with nothing. She hadn't realized the gravity of it, but Ethan knew exactly how hard their future would be. I took the signed agreement and told her we would get the official certificate tomorrow. She readily agreed, even childishly saying that whoever didn't show up was a dog. I just smiled. We'd see how her precious Ethan would give her the dream life she so desperately craved. Chapter 6. The next morning we got our divorce certificate. The entire time Ethan was trying to persuade Victoria to reconsider, not to be so stubborn with me. But Victoria couldn't swallow her pride. If I didn't back down, she certainly wouldn't either. Besides, compared to me, she loved Ethan more. Now that she could get rid of me so easily and rekindle things with Ethan, she couldn't wait to get her hands on that divorce certificate. As we walked out of City Hall, Victoria stopped caring about my presence altogether. She openly linked her arm with Ethan's, leaning half her body against him in a display of intimacy. Sincere, you'll have plenty of time to regret this. You don't know how to hold on to a talent like Ethan. I don't even know how you got rich in the first place. But it's a good thing you're so blind. It works out for me and Ethan. He'll definitely be more successful somewhere else. Victoria's smile was triumphant, but Ethan looked troubled and worried. Only when Victoria boasted that she would introduce Ethan to other bosses did a reluctant smile appear on his face. They left with their conflicting expressions, and I drove back to the office. From that day on, Victoria and I were on separate paths with no connection between us. When I got to my office, I saw the wedding photo on my desk that I once treasured. I remembered our wedding day, when Victoria had sincerely vowed to never leave me. At that time, we had just overcome the most difficult phase of my career. I thought marriage was the beginning of our happy life together. But in just a few short years, she had forgotten everything. Thinking back on how I used to make excuses for her change of heart, I couldn't help but find it laughable. I picked up the photo, fed it into the shredder, and watched blankly as the smiling faces of our past selves were sliced into irreparable pieces. With everything settled, I composed myself and prepared to work. Just as I turned on my computer, my business partner, Walter Davis, called. We had a good relationship, and he got straight to the point. Your wife brought a pretty boy to my office looking for an investment. Mr. Harrison, what's your take on this? Hearing the amusement in his voice, I sighed helplessly. Victoria and I are divorced. Feel free to handle it however you see fit. You don't need to consider my feelings. In that case, I won't hold back. I confirmed my stance again. Mr. Davis understood. After a few more pleasantries, he hung up. Throughout the day, I received several more calls from other business partners. Without exception, it was about Victoria seeking investments. My response to them was the same as it was with Mr. Davis. I told them all to handle it as they saw fit. After a round of calls from all the executives at my level, I finally had some peace and quiet. However, I heard that Victoria's antics didn't stop. When she couldn't get the big players, she went after the smaller ones. Apparently, after talking herself hoarse, she finally convinced one investor. But when she heard the amount he was willing to offer, which was far less than she expected, she erupted. She yelled that his offer was like giving a handout to a beggar and wasn't even enough to cover the startup costs. Her arrogance got her thrown out of the investor's office, and he swore to make sure they wouldn't get any funding from anyone else. Mr. Davis brought this up to make fun of me during a get-together with some mutual acquaintances. I filled my glass, raised it to my friends in apology for the trouble, and reiterated that Victoria and I had made a clean break and there was nothing left between us. After that, I enjoyed a period of peace. I thought Victoria and I would never cross paths again, but at a gala tonight, I saw her and Ethan. The event was in full swing. the atmosphere lively with clinking glasses and conversation. Like a shrew, Victoria dragged Ethan along, barging in despite the staff's attempts to stop them. The moment she entered the hall, her eyes scanned the room, and she shouted, "Sincere Harrison, get your ass out here, Chapter 7. Victoria's eyes were like searchlights, pinpointing my location in the crowd with precision. She stormed towards me, shoved me as soon as she reached me, and snarled, "You are truly vicious. We've been hitting dead ends everywhere for days. It must be you pulling strings, telling all those bosses not to invest in us. Are you even a man? It's just a divorce. Do you really have to be so ruthless and try to destroy me?" It took me a second to process what was happening. Victoria was blaming all her failures on me. I responded with a sneer. "Are you suggesting I'm the center of the universe, the master of the world? Where would I get the power to make all those top executives listen to me? I'll say it again. Just because you're stupid doesn't mean everyone else is. Anyone with a good eye can see whether Ethan is worth it or not." "Isn't that the truth?" Mr. Davis chimed in, agreeing with me. "We've seen all kinds of talent. You're the only one who treats a pretty boy like a treasure." As soon as he finished, the surrounding executives, who had been watching the show, chuckled softly. Victoria's face turned a mixture of red and white. Even though she was clearly isolated, she held her head high and continued to argue. "Everyone knows you're all a bunch of snakes. If one of you is blind, the whole industry is blind. Having people like you as bosses is the greatest tragedy of our time." Her words were harsh, and they soured the mood of the executives who had been passively watching. Without me having to do anything, they had their assistants start asking Ethan a few professional questions. At first, Ethan tried to beat around the bush, attempting to deflect, but as the questions grew sharper, he found it increasingly difficult to keep up. Finally, he resorted to using the same canned response for different questions. Within a few minutes of questioning, he was sweating profusely. His knowledge and ability were clearly mediocre. Victoria could see Ethan's struggle and discomfort. She asked in disbelief, "Aren't you a top graduate?" At her words, Ethan's face became even more strained. An assistant, as if to stir the pot, asked Ethan which foreign university he had graduated from. Ethan mumbled and couldn't bring himself to answer. I took a sip of my drink and said mockingly, "Knowing a few professional terms is pretty good, considering that the U you went to probably only taught you that much." Hearing the name of the school I mentioned, a wave of understanding passed through the crowd. Someone even laughed out loud, saying, "Isn't that just a diploma mill? And you call that a highly educated overseas student? At that rate, we must all be Einsteins." The comment elicited a roar of laughter. Ethan's face was flushed with shame. Victoria couldn't accept it, and her gaze towards Ethan was now laced with suspicion. Her look stung Ethan, and he suddenly flew into a rage. "What are you looking at? This is all your fault, you dumbass. I've never met anyone so brainless. You can't close an investment deal, and you get baited into leaving a marriage with nothing. It's bad enough you embarrass yourself all day, but now you've dragged me down with you. I must have been cursed to ever believe you could make me rich." Victoria's pupils dilated in shock. Her mouth hung open, speechless, as if she couldn't believe Ethan would say such things to her. Ethan, having nothing left to lose, forcefully flung away Victoria's outstretched hand. Victoria's eyes instantly reddened, and her body began to tremble slightly. But seeing this, Ethan showed no trace of his former sympathy. Instead, he spat on the floor in her direction with disgust, turned, and stormed away. Chapter 8. Victoria was frozen in place, a clown on display for everyone to point at and whisper about. Suddenly, she heard something and stiffly raised her eyes to look at a female guest who was laughing at her behind a cupped hand. Then she looked at me, as if remembering how glamorous and respected she had been when she used to attend these events by my side. A light returned to her dark eyes. Seeing me was like spotting a lifeline, and she threw herself at me. "Sincere, I was wrong. I was wrong." She was crying uncontrollably, a complete mess. It was all my fault for being so naive. I was tricked by Ethan. I'll never do it again, I promise. Please, forgive me, okay? I stepped aside to avoid her, feeling nothing but annoyance. Fortunately, security arrived just in time, grabbing her as she tried to cling to me again, and dragging her away. In the vast banquet hall, the sound of Victoria's wailing and begging for forgiveness made her the pathetic star of the show. Mr. Davis tapped my glass with his, congratulating me on cutting my losses and getting rid of big trouble. But Victoria didn't disappear as I had hoped. After the gala, I saw her again. waiting at the entrance of my apartment building, under the dim light of the elevator lobby. Victoria looked on the verge of tears. She forced a brave face and, just like in the old days, smiled gently and asked, "You're back." Seeing me frown, she said sensitively, "Did you drink too much? Is your head hurting? Hurry and open the door. I'll go in and make you some soup to sober you up." Knowing she was playing dumb, my face hardened, and I said nothing. My assistant had told me more than once that when I wasn't smiling, my presence was intimidating, making it hard for people to look me in the eye. In the past, I had always deliberately softened my demeanor around Victoria. She had never seen this serious side of me. The moment my expression changed, she burst into tears, stammering and blaming me. Why are you being so mean? I already said I know I was wrong. What more do you want from me?" I found her utterly shameless. After everything that had happened, she still had the audacity to come to me, admit her mistake, and expect my forgiveness as if it were her right. She was the one who did everything, good or bad. I felt that even getting angry with someone like her was a waste of my emotions. I ignored her and quickly opened the door to go inside. I didn't expect Victoria to be so determined to keep pestering me. Just as the door was about to close, she stuck her hand in the frame, unafraid that the steel door would crush it. Seeing this, I instinctively let go of the door. Victoria seized the opportunity, using her other hand to pull the door open and squeeze inside. In the hallway, I stood like a mountain, blocking her from moving any further. I scowled and ordered her to leave. At first, she tried to act cute and cry, but I remained cold and unmoved. Finally, she had no other choice but to shout at me through her tears, "I'm here to get the rest of my things, okay?" I didn't believe her pathetic excuse for a second. When she left, she had been too proud to take anything I had bought for her, confident that Ethan would give her more in the future. Now that she was down on her luck, she wanted to come back and take advantage. No chance. I was about to tell her to give up hope when I suddenly remembered the box in the storage room, so I didn't stop her. I let her in. She thought she saw a glimmer of hope, believing that no matter what mistakes she made, I would never be able to truly let her go. She began to cry even harder, full of grievances. "I just made one little mistake and you're being so cruel to me. You're so heartless." I ignored her performance, turned and went to the storage room to get the box. Victoria was still sniffling when the box I suddenly dropped in front of her made her jump. Chapter 9. The cardboard box wasn't sealed properly. When she peeked inside, she saw what was in it, and her face instantly turned deathly pale. Inside was a jumble of various clothes I had never seen before, things she had hidden away. I had found them deep in the back of the closet after she left. I don't know if she had forgotten about them or simply didn't care if I knew. Either way, she hadn't taken them, and now they were concrete proof of her deception. "You know what these were for. I don't need to spell it out. The day I came back injured, did you really think I didn't see what you and Ethan were up to? You're disgusting. What right do you have to come back and ask for my forgiveness?" I grabbed her arm with one hand, picked up the box with the other, opened the unlocked door, and threw both her and the box out. Victoria collapsed onto the floor, looking utterly defeated, her face drained of all color. The flimsy garments flew out of the box and scattered around her, a shameful sight for anyone to see. I couldn't bear to look at her for another second and slammed the door shut without hesitation. The loud bang jolted Victoria back to reality. She crawled to my door and started pounding on it desperately, begging me through her tears. "It was just an AI face swap. I can change it back for you, okay? I know I was wrong. Don't leave me." She didn't get to shout for long. The building security I had called soon arrived and dragged her away. But she didn't give up. When she could no longer get into the apartment complex, she started waiting for me at my company. After a sleepless night, she looked completely worn out. Her eyeliner, smudged from crying, made her face look like a mess. The moment she saw me enter the lobby, she lunged but was stopped by security. Seeing she couldn't reach me, she started screaming at the top of her lungs. "Sincere, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please don't abandon me." Her desperate cries attracted the attention of passers-by. But I didn't even blink, walking straight into the elevator. I anticipated that Victoria would keep pestering me for a few more days, so I bought several cartons of cigarettes for the security guards at my apartment and office. I told them to chase her away on sight, and if that didn't work, to call the police. With my instructions, the guards were vigilant, and I had a period of peace. But the good times didn't last. One day, as work was ending, I saw my colleagues gathered by the window, watching the commotion below. My assistant came over and whispered that Victoria was making a huge scene downstairs. I went to the window to look. In the center of a heart formed by candles, Victoria was on one knee, holding a bouquet of roses. Her face was turned upwards in a look of devotion as she shouted, "Sincere, I am so sorry, I love you." I rolled my eyes in exasperation and immediately called security. A few moments later, a guard appeared with a bucket of dirty mop water and, without hesitation, dumped it all over her. Her mouth was open, ready to shout again, and she unexpectedly swallowed a large gulp of the filthy water, choking and coughing violently. The candles she had so carefully arranged were doused, leaving a mess on the ground. A bystander filmed the incident and uploaded it to a social media platform. The caption read, "Beauty apologizes to husband on wedding anniversary, but he's a no-show and she gets chased away by security." Someone recognized her and commented, "Isn't she dating Ethan Jones? How is she married? Is this story legit?" Her couple fame with Ethan hadn't died down yet, so the news of her being married sparked a massive online discussion. Resourceful netizens began uploading bits and pieces of footage they had captured over the past weeks. The final nail in the coffin was the security footage from the gala. The public finally realized they had been deceived by Victoria and Ethan. A storm of outrage descended upon their social media accounts. Their comment sections were flooded with insults. Even when she came to wait for me outside my office, she would be surrounded and cursed at by people who recognized her. I witnessed it once. She stood in the middle of a crowd, 3 layers deep, head down, shoulders slumped, enduring the verbal abuse without any resistance. Slut, viper, greedy. The crowd unleashed the darkest aspects of human nature upon her, hurling an endless stream of creative insults. If words were arrows, Victoria would have been a porcupine. I glanced at the scene for only a moment before looking away and walking steadily on. Chapter 10. Despite the public backlash, Victoria persisted in waiting for me outside my office. But with security watching out for me, I never had to deal with her face to face again. Later, I was passing the break room and overheard some colleagues talking about her. "Have you heard about Mr. Harrison's ex-wife? Her life is pathetic now. I just saw her at a noodle shop. Her clothes weren't just wrinkled, they were so faded they looked like they were about to fall apart. It was obvious she can't afford decent clothes anymore. I bet she's broke." She took forever to order, just staring at the menu and swallowing, before finally picking the plainest noodle soup. Then she loaded up on the free side dishes so much that the owner's face turned black. They continued to gossip, but I walked away without breaking my stride. I had long anticipated what Victoria's life would become without me. After I made it big, she had quit her job. Her food, clothing, and lifestyle were all funded by my money without me. Her days of luxury were over, and she was just an ordinary person again. But what did her suffering have to do with me? She had ended up this way because of the path she chose. I thought that after a while Victoria would accept reality and stop harassing me. But one day, I was called down to the police station. The police showed me a security video. In the blurry footage, a gaunt-looking Victoria was waiting outside my office as usual. Suddenly, a burst of exaggerated laughter was heard. Victoria turned and her eyes met those of Ethan Jones, who had his arm around a wealthy-looking older woman. Victoria was dressed plainly, her face sallow. In just a few short days, she looked like she had aged 10 years, a shadow of her former vibrant self. Ethan, in contrast, was still dressed in designer clothes, his hair perfectly styled, exuding an air of wealth. It was a bitter reunion for the former lovers. Victoria was the first to attack. She rushed forward, pointed a finger at Ethan's nose, and started screaming. She called him a freeloader, a sponger, a parasite who could only survive by clinging to women. Ethan shot back, mocking her for being a pig-headed idiot, for being stupid enough to give away a fortune. He said there was no one dumber than her in the world, and that her current situation was pure karma. They went back and forth, but Victoria was no match for Ethan's vicious tongue. Enraged, she tried to slap him, but he slapped her first with no restraint, knocking her to the ground. Victoria lay on the pavement, sobbing uncontrollably. Ethan watched her with a cold sneer. Before he left, he spat on the ground near her. That seemed to be the final straw. I don't know where she found the strength, but she scrambled to her feet, grabbed a brick from a nearby planter, and lunged at Ethan, smashing it against his head. Ethan collapsed instantly, blood pouring from the wound. But Victoria was in a frenzy. She struck him again and again, until she had caved in the side of his skull. Ethan's face was a bloody mess. It looked like brain matter was mixing with the flowing blood. The surrounding crowd scattered in panic, their screams filling the air. Only Victoria stood there, admiring her masterpiece, a crazed smile on her face. The video ended, frozen on Victoria's smile. It was a chilling sight. The police had called me in to ask about the relationship between Victoria and Ethan. I told them everything I knew. After giving my statement, the police let me go. As I was leaving the interview room, I ran into Victoria being escorted by officers. The moment she saw me, her face lit up with a hopeful smile. If it weren't for the police holding her back, I'm sure she would have thrown herself at me. She twisted in their grasp, asking desperately, "Sincere, are you here to save me? I knew you still loved me. I love you too. The homewrecker who ruined our relationship is dead now. There's nothing standing between us anymore. Get me out of here." I ignored the deranged Victoria, simply taking a step back to let them pass. As she was being led further away, she twisted her head around, screaming for me to save her. I remained completely unmoved. Without even a second glance in her direction, I turned and walked towards the exit. I left her shrill cries and our dramatic past behind me for good.